Welcome to the Royal Calcutta Turf Club for the Calcutta Races Autumn meeting, second day, Thursday, 7th November 2024. The first race of the afternoon is the Ashna Handicap for horses rated 1 to 26 to be ridden by jockeys of Indian nationality to be run over a distance of about 1400 meters. First up, we are looking at two runners, number 1 Banksy and number 3 Piergos. They ran in race number 60 where Banksy, who was in third spot, kept on finding something and eventually finished on third of 8 runners. Piergos, who was in sixth spot as they turned for home, made up a placing and eventually finished on fifth. This run was over 1600 meters and the winner here was Fortune Warrior, who eventually got the race by a length and a quarter. Banksy today ridden by Mohammad Samir and Piergos is ridden by P. Tejeshwar. Three runners. This is from opening day where Elite, Lineup and Collect and Magnite, they raced against each other in the second race of the season over 1100 meters. Elite, who was in fifth spot, started to really move late into this day and eventually just missed out by a nose and finished on second. Lineup and Collect, who was in seventh spot, made some late gains and eventually finished on fourth, and Magnite, who was in fourth spot, when asked for an effort, started to drop back and finished on the rear of the field. The winner here was Lightning Charlie. Number 5 is Calcutta. Calcutta had 4 starts during the monsoon season, finished on third in the first start in race number 2 where it finished on third over 1200 meters. Since then has had 3 unplaced efforts. The last start was in race number 36 where Calcutta was in 7th spot, then made up a placing and eventually finished on 6th. The winner here was Lightning Charlie. Number 7 is Sangeeta. Had a solid restart in their monsoon season in race number 1 where Sangeeta was in 7th spot. When asked for an effort, Sangeeta did not really accelerate, eventually finished on 8th of 8 runners. The winner here was Chili Lady, who won the race by about a length under very heavy downpour. We move on to the second race of the afternoon, the Comedy of Errors Handicap for horses rated 41 to 66, rated 21 to 46, eligible to be run over a distance of about 1100 meters. First up, we got 6 runners which went up against each other on opening day in race number 5. Sea of Chum was in 7th spot, eventually dropped back and finished on last of 9 runners. All-time legend, who took the turn in 6th spot, made up a placing and eventually finished on 5th. Zuccardi, who was leading the pack and then retired and eventually finished on 8th of 9 runners. We had number 4, which is a Bundle of Charm. Bundle of Charm was in 2nd spot when asked for an effort, dropped back and eventually finished on 4th. We had number 5 was Tender Heart. Tender Heart, who was racing in 9th spot, made up some late gains and eventually finished on 7th. And Swift Lady, who took the turn wide of the track, eventually finished on 6th. The winner here was Celtic Harlequin. Number 6 is Saranaika. This was an opening day in race number 6 where Saranaika took the turn wide of the track, was in 6th spot as they entered the home straight, then really started to eat up ground and eventually won the race by 3 1/4 lengths, beating King Roger in second. Saranaika today the mount of Ankush, who claims 4 kilo Oz. Number 8 is Pleroma. Pleroma, who gave the monsoon season a miss, had a solid restart during the winter campaign where in race number 148 was in 5th spot when asked for an effort to drop back, eventually finished on last of 12 runners. Pleroma had a mock race on opening day where it went over 1200 meters. We move on to the third race of the afternoon, the Cascades Handicap for horses rated 21 to 46, rated 1 to 26, eligible to be ridden by jockeys of Indian nationality to be run over a distance of about 1200 meters. First, we got 2 runners from race number 62. This is from the monsoon season, Multistara and Royal Rider. Multistara, who was racing in 11th spot, made up a placing and eventually finished on 10th. Royal Rider, who was racing in 4th spot when the race came to a boil, started to really drop back, eventually finished on 2nd last of 12 runners. The winner here was NRI Fantasy, who got the race in a 3-way finish. Number 2 is Extravagant Star, who had 3 stars during the monsoon season, was a winner in race number 24. In race number 50, the one we are looking at, as the gates opened, dislodged the rider and ran riderless for the rest of the race. Couple of runners. This is from race number 49. We had Sea Salt Caramel and Cristaldo. Sea Salt Caramel, who was in first spot, made some late gains and eventually got into the place money, finished on second. Cristaldo, who had won back-to-back starts earlier part of the season over here, Cristaldo took the turn in third spot, then started to drop back and eventually finished on 7th of 11 runners. The winner here was Tender Heart, who eventually got the race by 3/4 of a length. Number 5 is Vinalia, has had 4 starts in the monsoon season, finished on second in an earlier start, which was her first start. Since then, 3 unplaced efforts, including the run we are looking at, which is from race number 63, where if she went over 1200 meters, took the turn in 5th spot, stayed on in 5th in a close finish. The winner here was over the line. We had 4 runners. This is from race number 6. We had Dancing Queen, who took the turn in 4th spot, eventually finished on 5th. We had horse number 8, Liban, who was in 3rd spot, stayed on in 3rd. We had UV, who took the turn in 8th spot, stayed on in 8th. And finally, we had horse number 11, which is Indian Tiger, who was leading the pack for about most part of the journey, but started to really drop back, eventually finished on 7th. The winner here was Sarah Naika. Number 7 is Skyforce, Fiora out of Haha Tonka. What a start this was for Skyforce. Was on a start to finish mission into the last 200 meters. Started to accelerate even further. Eventually had almost 4 lengths to spare on the second place toss, which was Mahatangi. Skyforce, again ridden by Yash Naredu. Finally, number 12 is Trebia. 3 starts for Trebia during the monsoon season. Finished on second in the first start it had in race number 8 behind War Trail. Since then, 2 unplaced effort. Last start was in race number 53 over 1400 meters, where Trebia took the turn in 9th spot, stayed on in 9th. The winner here was Main Street. Moving on to the 4th race of the afternoon, the multi-magic handicap for horses rate 41 to 66, rate 21 to 46, eligible to be run over a distance of about 1400 meters. First runner we're looking at is Loris. Had a solid restart after coming down from Hyderabad in the monsoon season. That was in race number 51, where Loris was in 8th spot as they turned for home. Then when asked for an effort, Loris really ran out of gas, eventually was eased up, finished on last of 11 runners. The winner here was Fancy Nancy. We got Prince Abir and Kindred Spirit. This from race number 66 in the monsoon season, where Prince Abir was a little slowly out of the gates, was in 11th spot as it turned for home, then made a few placings and eventually finished on 8th of 12 runners. Kindred Spirit, who was racing in 5th spot, eventually dropped back and finished on 9th. The winner here was Nautica, who had about length and a quarter to spare on the second place toss. Number 3, it's Forest Fragrance, leader Morada Lombardia. 2 stars during the monsoon season in the Phillies Trial Stakes, finished on 3rd behind Trahela in the Monsoon Derby. Was in 2nd spot as it turned for home, stayed on in almost 3rd spot. The winner here was Castile, and Forest Fragrance today ridden by C. Umesh. For Dubai Princess, 9 Golden Light. This was in race number 61 during the monsoon season. Went over 1600 meters, and Dubai Princess, who was in 2nd spot, was given the cue as the horses turned for home and absolutely accelerated and won the race, eventually beating Second horse Zara by almost 5 lengths. Golden Light, who was in 5th spot, tried to make up ground but eventually had to settle for 3rd spot. Earlier in the season, Golden Light had won a race in race number 50. Number 6 is Main Street. Back-to-back wins for Main Street during the monsoon season. Race number 17 got the measure of Sativur over 1400 meters. Last start was again over 1400 meters, and race number 53 went on a start-to-finish mission and started to accelerate into the last 200 meters and eventually had 4 lengths to spare on Byberry. Number 8 is Jamaica. This is from the previous season in race number 64, where Jamaica was on a start-to-finish mission, was caught up close home by Black Eagle, and Jamaica did the next best thing, finished on second. Jamaica had won back-to-back races earlier part of the season in race number 12 and 26 respectively. We move on to the 5th and feature race of the afternoon, the Bullet Cup for horses rated 61 to 86, rate 41 to 66, eligible to be run over a distance of about 1400 meters. First we got a couple of runners, Dandi Satyagraha and the Wonderful. This is from race number 1, where Dandi Satyagraha, who was in 4th spot, stayed on in 4th. This was over 1600 meters, and Wonderful, who was in 3rd spot, tried to come up with a run down the center, but Dragon's Gold kept on kicking away, and Wonderful did the next best thing, finished on second. Number 2 is Buckley, Phoenix Star out of Athens. The start is from race number 56 during the monsoon season, where Buckley was in 5th spot as they entered the home straight and came up down the center and eventually finished on 4th. The winner here was Blackstone, who won the race eventually by 4 lengths. Buckley today ridden by Vivek G. Number 4, Fancy Nancy, Roderick O'Connor out of Remembrance of You, and back-to-back wins from Fancy Nancy. Race number 41 got the measure of K-Star. Race number 51, the one we are looking at, was over 1400 meters. Fancy Nancy was in 2nd spot as they turned for home, then took charge into the last 250 meters and staved off the challenge of Rafael, who eventually had 3/4 of a length to spare, the mount of A. Sandesh. Number 5, Trahila, Western Aristocrat out of Nickel Chrome. 4 starts, 4 wins, unbeaten on the monsoon track. Won the Juvenile Sprint and the Phillies Trial Stakes. The run we are looking at is from the Phillies Trial Stakes, where she was on a start-to-finish mission, and if anything, she accelerated into the last 300 meters and absolutely blew them away. Won the race by 4 lengths, the mount of Yash Naidu. We move on to the 6th and last race of the day, the Moon Mission Handicap for horses rated 21 to 46, rate 1 to 26, eligible to be ridden by jockeys of Indian nationality, to be run over a distance of about 1400 meters. You got 2 runners, number 1 NRI Fantasy and number 6 Dance Along. NRI Fantasy was top class out of Ice Fantasy, and this was an excellent start by NRI Fantasy. It was in 7th spot as the horses turned for home, then came wide of the track and took charge into the last 100 meters and eventually had a half a length to spare. Number 6 Dance Along was in 6th spot, stayed on in 6th. NRI Fantasy today the mount of Nikhil Naidu, and Dance Along ridden by R. Vaibhav. Number 2 is Aeropoli. Aeropoli was winner in an earlier start during the monsoon season. That was in race number 27 over 1400 meters. Then in race number 46 went over 1600 meters, was the hot favourite, was in 3rd spot, then chased the winner home, Norwegian Wood. Eventually fell short by about length and a half. Aeropoli the mount of Yash Naidu. Number 3 is Rhapsody in Green. 3 stars during the monsoon season, 3 unplaced efforts, including the last start where Rhapsody in Green was a little slowly out of the gates, was in 10th spot as the heads turned for home. Made some lead gains, eventually finished on 7th of 12 runners. The winner here was Over the Line, who almost won the race by half a length. Number 4 is Donna Sienna. Speaking of which, out of La Donna, was winner in an earlier start in race number 3, where she went over 1100 meters. Last start was in race number 24, where she went over 1200 meters. Was on a start to finish mission. In the last 200 meters was a little flat footed and eventually finished on 3rd. The winner here was Extravagant Star. 3 runners. This is from race number 3. John Lafette, Emperor Ashoka and Sporting Trainer. John Lafette, who was in 8th spot, made a couple of placings and eventually finished on 6th. Emperor Ashoka, who was trailing the field, eventually finished on 5th of 9 runners. And Sporting Trainer, who took the turn in 7th spot, dropped back, eventually finished on 8th of 9 runners. The winner here was Sensational. No worries, Dali out of Alec Blue, 5 stars during the monsoon season, has been a place getter in most of his starts. Last start in race number 61 was in 4th spot, finished on 4th. The winner here was Dubai Princess. No worry today, the mount of Imran Chisti. Couple of runners. This is from race number 60. We got the top 2. Fortune Warrior, who was racing in 5th spot, came up with a run down the center and eventually got the measure of the runaway leader Avon, who was another runner. Avon is eventually finished on 2nd by almost length and a quarter. Fortune Warrior ridden by Krishit Bhagat and Avon the mount of Arul GH. So that's the lineup for the day. See you at the races, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching.